Under Zoning Hearing Board for Thursday, November 19th, 2015. We have 3 matters to hear tonight: 2956, 2958, and 2959. 2960 has been continued, so if you happen to be here for 2960, that will be heard at the December meeting. First order of action is Pledge of Allegiance. As the first appeal 2956 was commenced on November 5th, and I was not attending that meeting, nor have I had time to get up to speed on it, I'm going to recuse myself from that, turn it over to the Vice Chair, and then I'll be back for 2958.
2956 continued from November 5th, 2015. The applicant, iLead Inc., property located at 1122 County Line Road and zoned R5, seeks a special exception from code sections 280-101.a and 280-101.a sub 1 to continue the non-conforming use of the prior occupant. The applicant should approach. To clarify, this being a continuance, Mr. Ryan reviewed the tape of the hearing from November. So at this point, we are sitting as a board of 3, myself, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Cutler.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Counselor?
If we could correct the record, that's Riley.
I'm sorry, Mr. Riley. Excuse me.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is James Canelio. I'm an attorney in Bryn Mawr, live in Garrett Hill. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, iLead Inc. To my right, your left, is the President and Chief Executive Officer, David Castro, who I believe was at the November 5 hearing. Also in attendance is the owner of the property, Sal Mastrangelo. At the November 5, well, first off, my client filed a pro se application for the special exception. And at the time he went before the board had questions about the prior usage of this property by the predecessor Blue and White Foundation, which was in the property for up until July 1 of this year. Unknown by my client at the time, Blue and White Foundation had actually applied for and received a special exception to use the property as an office back on January 16th of 2003. This came to my client's attention after the hearing. Obviously, if he had counsel, we would have done a right to know request. We would have gotten this and attached it to the application, which unfortunately we didn't know about it. So I do have. Can I hand up
yes,
to the members?
Thank you.
So as you can see, in 2003, the Blue and White filed the application for special exception requesting that it be allowed to use the first floor of 1122 County Line Road as an office to continue the non-conforming nature. It just by happenstance, my law firm is mentioned in that application because my law firm, or I'm a sole practitioner, I was in that office using that as my office. The first floor, that is from 1989 to 2002. So with that application having been approved and the order entered, I believe that I would respectfully request, submit to the board that is determinative of the validity of my client's application for the special exception. I have other arguments, backup arguments, but I believe that is our main argument. And if the board wants to, have any questions regarding that?
I think that it's dispositive of the fact that this board earlier treated this as a special exception. You still have to have the burdens of meeting a change, the special exception that was required for the change. But I would advise the board that the zoning board earlier treated this as a non-conforming use subject to the special exception mechanism, and that this approval governs today.
So, Mr. Ryan, your point is that to the extent the applicant demonstrates no more intense use or material changes in the nature of the use, we would proceed accordingly. Now, evidence was introduced at the meeting in November, so I will defer to the other members of the board whether they are interested in hearing either more evidence in that character or repetition of that evidence.
No, I think you demonstrated that your use will not exceed the scope of the prior user. It's very similar, if not smaller, in parking and use. The issue was what was going on back when the zoning code changed to prohibit this use, and that issue has now been put to bed. So I'm satisfied with their evidence, personally.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the applicant be granted the relief sought in the application.
I second it.
Any discussion of the motion? Being none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, before we depart from this, we ought to label the applicant's exhibits, just for the record. I would label the application as A1, the lease as A2, that was submitted last time, a plan prepared by Smirga, A3, and the application and package and decision and appeal number 2554, which was submitted tonight, will be A4.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. And thank you, members of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Great job. The next matter is Appeal 2958. The applicant, Pexone, property located at 118 West Beech Tree Lane and zoned R4, seeks a variance from Code Section 280-30C to encroach into the front yard setback area. And the applicant is present.
Where is the mic?
He wants to go to the folder.
Oh, no. I didn't mean to mic. My builder name is Mike. He was here. No, he.
Oh, right here, Papa. In front of you.
Oh, in front.
There you go. Why don't you, are you presenting or is he presenting?
Yeah, I'm going to present.
You're going to present? Okay.
He will present some second part.
Okay. Here, let's make sure we can hear you out of the mic.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Pexo.
I need to swear you in. If you'll raise your right hand.
Oh, yes.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
State your full name for me, please.
Full name. Oh, my name is Pek S. Son. Last name is S-O-H-N.
And your name too?
Are you testifying?
Mike Monahan, I'm his builder. I'm Mike Monahan, I'm his builder.
He's my son to help me.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm owner of a 118 West Beechtree Lane property, and I'm requesting variance to build a front porch. When you look at the map drawings, there is showing a 30 feet setback requirement. And,
Do you happen to have a picture of the drawing you're referring to? We'll also label them.
Is it right? No, not here. Yeah, this one, but it's too small. You cannot see.
Do you have an extra packet? Hold on one second. We're gonna give you a packet so you can refer to it.
It's the bigger size of this one.
We have a camera right above you, and so when you show an exhibit, so the people on the TV can see what you're looking at. We also can see it up on the screen. You can point to it. And again, I think once you make your case, we also can put the exhibits into the record, so we also want to label them. So just pick out one of the exhibits that you're going to refer to. We'll label it, I guess now, before we start talking about it. And then start talking about it. So we'll label this exhibit. So the application will be A1.
Oh, I can bring the computer and then show that.
It's quite all right.
Too?
No, it's perfect. This is fine.
Oh, okay. Oh, the 30 feet I mentioned is showing right end of left-hand side top. You know, the requirement is 30 feet. Okay? That 30 feet is already inside of my front house. Okay, now, and the
We probably ought to do the exhibits now, just to make sure we don't miss it, or...
Let's do it as we go, as he presents.
Oh,
So
all
the
right.
application will be A1,
A1.
and the large plan that is called zoning variance plan for Peck S soon should be A2.
Okay.
Okay, go right ahead.
okay. And then the next important number is on the middle of a drawing at the top, that 25 feet. That's from the front of a house to setback, 25 feet. And I'm requesting adding 7 feet wide front porch, so setback will be 18 feet. That's a fact of a case. The reason I need this front porch is because of weather protection. If somebody coming in front of my front door need protection from the rain or snow, so it's have to come in up and finding the flat landing and then coming in through the door. So that's one requirement I need to have a front porch. And the second one is more personal. You know, I lived into that house. It's almost 30 years. I moved into that house in the '86. The original my house has entrance on the side. It's very hard to go outside to the front. So whenever I go out to pick up the paper, I say hello to, walking by neighbor. But it's a rare occasion. In our, historical society, the old community, I think it needs some kind of communications between neighbors. And so if I have a front porch in the good weather, I could go out and sit down, make some conversation with the neighbors. I thought that's a very good thing to do. And 30 years, I thought it's a very rare occasion is making conversation with the neighbors because I'm trapped inside. And also, for the neighbors, they have all front porch. You know, my left-hand side one had one, right-hand side one, they have all front porch. And for the architectural similarity over consistency, I thought I have the front porch is very good. So that's the reason I requested one. And also, one important factor. I will show you the second exhibit. As a matter of fact, I made 10 copies. Do I distribute 10 copies?
Is it in the packet?
No, this one is not in the package.
This one is, it looks similar. Okay. If you have copies, bring it.
Just a second. Andrew, where is all?
They're all together. Here, give it to me.
Give me 10 pages for the 1 pages.
That's the same as this?
Yeah.
That's in the package.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah?
Let's use the one in the packet.
Okay.
So let's, for reference, I think you're going to be referring to a document that has a label P4 in the right-hand corner,
Okay.
and we'll reference that as A3.
When you look at the
Let's see if he's going to use it.
When you look at the front view of a architectural design of a front porch, that my door is above, about 2.5 feet above the ground,
Yeah, that's correct.
right? So,
Yes, that's correct.
yeah. And there is some structure that people has to walk up to the front porch area and walk up there and then find a flat landing and then walk in the house. So I need some kind of a structure anyhow. So if I need a structure like that, then as my well, I wish the board allows me to have this kind of front porch. It's a good, for my opinion, it's a good architectural design. And then when you look at it, this is only 7 feet wide from my front house. And then when you look at the side view, this one is wrapped around my side house a little bit. So that's the 4 reason that I'm requesting the variance that allow me to have a front porch. Okay, make a better, more conversation with the neighbor, weather protection, and architectural consistency, and that we need any kind of a structure anyhow. So as my will, allow me to have this kind of front porch.
Sir,
Okay,
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
You're permanently wheelchair bound?
Pardon?
Are you a disabled, permanently wheelchair
Oh,
bound?
no. I tore my calf muscle.
Oh, okay, okay.
And my doctor said it's about 8 weeks.
Okay,
I'm on the bed.
Okay.
So after 8 weeks, I hope I can walk around.
okay, fair
Yeah,
enough.
but my wife had a front toe surgery, so she needs a wheelchair.
So she's wheelchair bound then?
Yes. She needs. This is her wheelchair.
Will this porch make it easier to access your house?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Can you explain a little bit more how?
Pardon?
Explain that a little more.
More about house?
How the porch will be beneficial to somebody in a wheelchair.
Well, I can make the porch. I said it's
High step.
Yeah, about 2.5 feet higher the ground. I could make pitch to putting the wheelchair up. And then make about 7 feet wide is enough. I could make a left turn to get on the.
In other words, you're going to make an incline, rather than a
Yes,
step,
yeah.
you're going to make an incline from the ground to the level of the house by having the porch.
Yes, yes, that's my intention. But also I have a,
But that's not reflected on the elevation that we've been provided as, I forget the exhibit number. A3? I mean, the exhibit A3 appears to be a standard porch with a step onto the landing and then another step into the house. If the intention was to make the entrance to the house more accessible, wouldn't that be reflected in the elevation that you're presenting as part of your evidence?
yeah, sorry, I just dawned on me. I didn't think about my wife's coming in the front door. So I think it's.
This elevation doesn't reflect what you're intending to build? Is that what you're saying?
At this drawing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's 2.5 feet. Can you make
Yeah.
it easily?
Sorry, to make a ramp? Oh, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
piece of cake.
Yeah.
We could easily do it.
We could make it a 2.5 feet ramp.
You handed up to us a series of photographs.
Yeah.
Could you should be sworn in.
I
You were
did- I
sworn
did
in.
swear in, yes.
Could you quickly go through what these photographs represent?
This picture here.
Use the microphone.
This picture. This is the picture.
Use the microphone.
I'm sorry. This is the picture of the home to the left of him.
Okay.
I measured this home today with the neighbor's permission. They are exactly 24 feet from their front porch that they just enclosed to the sidewalk. This other home to the left of theirs, which is 2 houses down.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to label these as we go along. A3 was the prior photograph. I'm sorry, A4. A4 was the prior photograph. A5 is this photograph.
This last home here, which is 2 houses down, is actually 19 feet from their front. So what used to be an open front porch, but it enclosed front porch to the sidewalk. So I just wanted to show you, and you can see on this picture from the.
Did you happen to go into the township records to ascertain if the picture, I guess the brown house, had gotten a variance for that? Or if they had it by right?
It was built originally, like from what I can tell.
So most likely
Yeah.
grandfather.
My neighborhood house is very, very old. I mean, it could be more than 30 years
Right,
built.
okay.
Yeah.
And I took another picture from the elevation from the side, and you can see very easily that the homes.
What picture are you looking at?
This one here. Sorry, the porta potty's kind of blocking it, but you can see how his neighbor to the left is currently further than his house. And they also added a front porch, actually just a month ago, and I don't even know if they got a variance for it, but they're clearly, like they added a front step and porch, which is also on the ground, which I don't think they got a variance for it. Maybe they did, maybe they
Don't
don't.
say that.
Okay.
Neighbor's business is neighbor's
Yeah.
business.
And then, again, you can see the other house is only, it's clearly way over the setback. So even if Mr. Sun adds his porch, he won't be the furthest into the setback than neither one of his neighbors.
And the only one that you measured was, so you measured the White House and the
White
Brown House?
And then the brown house, the
And that
tan
was
house.
19 feet. Did you measure any of the other houses?
No, the one to the right of him, it's probably just at the setback.
Which would be which picture?
I'll show that picture to you. Hold on one second, please.
I assume it's this brown one, but
It would be this home here.
that one. You think that is what?
That's right about at the setback.
Right at the setback, so
Yes.
it's even. Okay, so
Yes.
that's in code.
Is this the house in question?
Yes, that's the house that we're working on currently.
And this shows the improvements, but not the porch?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
This is at work
Yes.
before you decided to put the
Yep,
porch on?
that was taken out as of today.
All right, so let's actually step back. Let's mark these as we're going through. You got A4, A5. Yeah. Do you have them marked?
I've been trying to mark them, but candidly, we've been hopping around a lot.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, we
Mark
don't do
them
this
wherever
every
you
day.
want to mark them, and then we'll organize it later.
Okay.
Is there the rationale for a 24-foot width
That's architecture.
architecture?
It's thought that about the right size.
And then why 18 feet versus 20 feet versus, I mean, I know a lot of houses that have weather covering, but it's maybe 3 feet. And I'm speaking from experience. Mine is about 2
Yeah,
feet,
but-
and I don't have any columns.
But it's about 7 feet. It's wide if somebody try to walk up. Need some space in between to walk up.
So going back to A2, so you're saying that the greatest distance is 7 feet, but the second greatest distance, it seems like there is a step in front of a step. I guess that would be my kind of description of it. If you were to take, actually, wait a minute. You have an indent that goes out a little bit further than the rest of the porch? Is that a foot?
Not step to step. They just architectural shape.
Okay.
They're just coming out and then they come a little bit out. The furthest out is 7 feet.
So when we're, yeah, that's architectural. I mean, obviously, when you're seeking a variance, you need to show a hardship, meaning a really good reason why you need to get a variance from the code.
Yes.
And then, as well as we need to give you the minimum relief required by law. So, and again, I'm trying to figure out if 7 feet is exactly what you need, or can you live with 5? Can you live with 4? Can you live with 3? I mean, that's the whole point.
Mike, when you can build, when you build a ramp, how wide do you,
Typically-
you have to bring it up, and then also you have to room to turn wheelchair.
Yeah,
around.
like we had recently done a renovation to an office building on Aberdeen Avenue with a wheelchair ramp, and the porch came out at a total of 10 feet, and then ramped, to the left, came to a landing, and then turned to the right. So it was roughly that porch was roughly about 24 by 10 ramped.
How wide is the ramp that you'd have to build?
Sorry.
How wide would the ramp be? Is it 2.5?
If we were to make a ramp here,
Yeah.
it would probably be about the same. The porch would have to come up. Well, then, to get a wheelchair out there adequately, it should be about 5 feet wide.
Okay.
So this ramp you're proposing would go straight up toward the door, directly in
Most
front of the
likely,
door?
we'd come in from the left, or I'm sorry, from the right, from the driveway side, ramp up, and then turn, at the furthest point to the left of the porch, and then come to the front door.
How do you do that without blocking the garage door?
I'm sorry?
See, I mean, you're talking about basing this variance on the need for wheelchair access, but you give us nothing to show what the wheelchair access is. Say, if we give you the relief, we need to explain the approval in terms of the exact thing we're approving. So this seems to be a recent idea of putting this there.
I was thinking, I wasn't dealing with the architect, as Mr. Son was. Maybe Mr. Son didn't convey that correctly to the architect, most likely.
Let me, before we go, is there anyone here that would like to speak about this particular appeal? Is anyone from the audience? I'm just trying to ascertain if there's any neighbors
Okay.
here. That's all I'm trying to
My
do.
2 immediate neighbors supporting my effort.
If you had a letter from them that they signed, we could give it into evidence that would be helpful.
They said they can sign it, but I said, too much burdensome.
Well, unfortunately, that's what we need, but okay.
If you need it, I could go get it. That's no problem.
Yeah, well, we need it now. That's the problem. That's the big problem. But, okay, so we know that there's no one here either objecting or...
I mean, there's two things. The letters at the hearing or the testimony of the neighbors would be helpful, but also it seems that they have to redesign their porch plan to show the ramp.
Wouldn't do any good to give them this approval and find out that because of where the ramp goes, they need an extra 2 feet somewhere, and we didn't approve it.
You're worrying about the front door blockage by ramping.
No, I'm not worried about blockage. I'm worried about exactly what relief we're going to give you and how we describe it. And if the whole hardship is based upon the need for wheelchair access, which it seems it is, really,
Okay.
then we need to know the details of
Okay.
that.
I will ask architecture redraw with that plan. Ramping.
So it sounds like you would, I mean, what you would be doing is continuing the matter till December, and then at the December meeting, you'd basically deliver two things to us: a revised set of drawings that had a ramp on it,
Okay.
and as well as the neighbors' letters, unless they can come. Because I think the neighbors' testimony saying they support it will help your case. They always do.
The other thing is, Mr. Sohn, he's been basically down. I mean, he was going to go to the neighbors, but he's been sick, as you can see.
Yeah, but I had phone call communication that they are supporting my effort.
Well, I mean, again, if you're prepared to, I mean, we believe that when we make a motion to approve a variance based on a set of drawings, we need the drawings to be complete. Because we will say you have to build it this way, no more. You can build it less, but you can't build more.
Okay.
And especially since I think one of the hardships, it sounds like, is your wife's unfortunate status in the wheelchair.
Okay.
That would be a good hardship. It would be helpful to have it on the drawings.
Okay.
And if you're going to come back, you might, if you can get a letter from a neighbor, that's great.
Okay,
You know.
I will get that letter.
And also understand that you can't do the work in the next 4 weeks.
What? I'm just kidding.
You can't.
Well, no, I mean,
Well, I mean,
frankly, one of your pictures seems to indicate that you've already started building
No, that
part
was
of
actually, that was
what's-
actually from a previous drawing. The framers had already built something that was previously drawn. But we're just going to remove that.
Well, I mean, looking at the plan you've presented and where this appears to fall on that property, you're extending your encroachment into the setback already.
No,
With-
and it's not hitting, it's not connecting to the ground. It's just completely freestanding.
Yeah, it will be. Eventually, okay.
Yeah.
You understand
You
my
get the
point,
point.
which
Yes.
is
You
get
we're
the
trying,
Right now, we are not doing any work on the front porch.
okay.
No.
Because,
Only is a roof work inside building work.
and the board seems like it's going to be open-minded to try to be flexible with you next month, and it would be disturbing to think that it would be that anyone would move forward with
No,
the
we're not
work.
going to, of course, we're not going to build a front porch
Thank
without
you.
your
Now,
permission.
under the definition of the code for the front yard, and it says that it is exclusive of cornices, eaves, gutters, and chimneys projecting not more than 2 feet from the building. So if you did have an overhang projecting, it wouldn't count toward the front yard.
Yes.
But if it's more than 2 feet, then it does count toward the front yard. I think that's more than 2 feet, so I think that's the point that was being made, that it's already in violation without the approval.
Board members, we are aware of a variety of issues at this site, so that was something that I observed. Was obviously waiting for the outcome of tonight's hearing, but we are monitoring this site for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, by the way, that structure shouldn't be there.
No, it shouldn't even been built,
Shouldn't be
been even
there.
been built.
I'm asking variance, why bother to build that kind of structure at this time?
Okay. So just to
Are we
kind
waiting
of,
for, requesting another variance for the property at this time?
no,
For this-
they're not. No, no.
No, we're just asking for a
Just this-
continuance.
oh, just this one, yeah, continuance, okay.
So I will bring the new architectural drawings, the new front porch, and the letter.
Great.
I will do that.
A couple of observations. We also have, a little better distances on the thing that, you can sort of extrapolate it from looking at the distances from the front yard. But could you put in on each leg of the thing the actual distances that they extend?
You mean like from
Porch.
how much the porch is coming out, like the point, like
Yes.
to the one post, and how much to the second
Yeah.
so forth. Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
this is-
last, to do a continuance, we need to have you agree to extend the time for us to conduct, to complete the hearings and to extend the time, the 45 days from that, continued hearing to render the written decision. Do you agree to do that?
Yes. If that's the requirement,
Thank you very much.
I will do.
We'll see you in December.
Okay.
Thank you.
December. Okay,
December.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
They'll tell you the date.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if I have to ask you this one or not. If I bring two things, is that some kind of favorable? I could get the variance?
We can't make a determination.
Okay, I understand. I understand.
Get the folder.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The next appeal is Appeal 2959. The applicant Edward Novak, property located at 230 Hardwick Lane in Zone R2, seeks relief from Code Section 28022, accessory structures to install a standby generator 12 and a half feet from the side property line. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Sorry, when you do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
State your name for the record.
Edward Novak.
Good evening.
Hi.
Go right ahead.
Give you a little background on why we need it in the first place. I've been using a portable generator.
Could I just interrupt?
Sure.
For some reason, it looks like the original deed to the property was submitted to the township.
No, it's just a color printer.
Oh, they,
High-quality color copies.
Yeah.
my,
So good, we all had the concern that someone put the original
It's like,
deed.
wait, you've got the tax bill receipt?
All the ink colors
Actually,
and
this is a
everything.
standard old HP printer, but it does nice copies.
it sure does.
We moved in 1999. Ever since then, I've been using a portable generator. Weighs over 200 pounds. It's gasoline generator fired. Whenever the power goes out, I have to drag it out from the garage out to the back of the house, run the cable for it, run the ground wire for it so I don't electrocute everybody, and then fill it up with gasoline every 10 hours or so. And that's worked fine for all these years. But 2 years ago, my stepson came down with terminal cancer. And I am periodically spending time in New York taking care of him for his chemo treatments and his radiation treatments and his surgeries. He has a girlfriend, but she weighs like 90 pounds and really can't handle him. So when he's sick, I'm in New York, sometimes for weeks at a time, and my wife and stepdaughter are here. They cannot handle the generator. So at that point, I decided I needed to get a real standby generator. There's a bunch of them in the neighborhoods, about 13 that I can find that are around me. They're all Generacs. They're all the same kind of generator. So I went to the Generac recommended supplier and told him what I needed. He did the survey, figured out where everything had to go, told me where to put it, and he was supposed to handle all the permit stuff. So, in fact, they didn't. Well, they did, but they never got the permit because it wasn't approved. They had a day open. They were expecting the permit to get approved since they've done a bunch of these before. They put the thing in place. It's all installed, and that's what the basic problem is. I have exactly 20 feet from my wall of the house to my property line. If I come back 15 feet to meet the requirement, I have 5 feet between.
I think you misunderstand the requirement. This is not an air conditioner.
No.
The requirement that you need relief from is that this is an accessory structure, and if it's not attached to the house, it has to be at least 10 feet away from the house, but it can be up to 10 feet to the sideline. You're more than 10 feet from the sideline, so your issue is how close it is to the house.
Actually, that's true then.
Yeah.
If we're
That's
turning
really
around
what your
looking the
issue
other
is.
direction. Yeah, because I'm only
Under-
5 feet from the house.
Under the code, yeah.
Now, the
'Cause
national...
it's outside the building envelope as it's supposed to be, and it's allowed to be as close as 10 feet to the sideline, and it's more than that. But it's supposed to be, if it's outside the envelope and not attached to the house, at least 10 feet from the house.
Mr.
You-
Cutler.
Which you obviously can't do.
On these issues, since generators have been a relatively new phenomenon, prior to myself arriving here at the township, and then since then, we've treated these with the same setbacks as air conditioning units. So the relief that he's requesting and what we've enforced on numerous properties and what this board has had several applications in front of you, a similar situation has been on this exact issue as far as the setback from the house and from
Well, the only one that I ever heard in the years that I've been on the board, it was on Hill Air Avenue, and the problem was it was only like 5, 6, or 7 feet from the side yard, from the sideline, so they needed relief. I have never heard a case in all the years I've been on the board where this was the issue involving a generator.
There was one, I think it was in Ward 2, where they had installed the generator without permits. We, investigated it, found out that it had violated the appropriate setbacks, and I think in that case there was some steep slopes and some landscaping that prohibited them from being able to meet the underlying zoning requirements. But
It came before the board?
Yes.
I never saw it.
It was a couple months ago, wasn't it, Ken?
Yes.
Yeah.
When was that?
Within the last 3 to 6 months.
It's been one that I missed, I don't know.
But regardless of
Well,
that,
I mean, there's
we-
no authority, John, is there? You can't just treat it like an air conditioner because you want to. There's nothing, it's not defined as an air conditioner in the code. It is not, in fact, an air conditioner. I mean, that's nice as a matter of convenience, but I don't think you can impose that on the homeowner, that we're just going to treat it as an air conditioner. The code doesn't prohibit this. This is a structure, it's accessory structure. Your only issue, as far as I can see under the code as written, is you're too close to the house.
Well, actually, it's both, isn't it? I mean, you have,
He's more than 10 feet from the sideline. In his district, he's allowed to be...
15 feet.
No, an accessory structure is allowed to be 10 feet.
I think it's 15.
Has to be
It's
not
R2.
closer than 10 feet from the
Yeah,
side.
and R2, it's 10 feet.
Not located
Oh, I
closer
see,
than 10
okay,
feet
yeah,
from the
there we
side.
go. Oh, yes, all right, I see it.
But, and again, I don't know, I don't think we should,
I mean, we can't infer a zoning restriction on property that isn't in the code.
correct.
That presumption has to go in favor of the property owner. So the only issue you do have under the code is the one about the proximity to the house.
But no, at least in the short term, given that the unit has been installed, am I hearing you to say you're acknowledging that he needs relief and we're discussing under which section?
That's right, it's a different subsection. He needs a variance, he needs it under the section he asked, but it's a different issue. It's a different subparagraph.
Yeah, but the only, let's just, while I agree with I think your rationale and kind of where your line is going, the issue is, I think, at least the notice is saying 12.5 feet from side property line, not 5.5 feet from the building. So, I mean, that, I guess we just need, John, you to weigh in on that one, but.
Yeah, I think that the township's treatment of the thing is at variance with the ordinance, but I think that it's clear what they want to do here. I mean, it's clear enough, and I don't think that unlike the other property, which got the wrong address for the property, I don't think that this is a material enough problem. I'll tell you what the issue is. Our Supreme Court, Pennsylvania's, has said that procedural errors in publishing a zoning hearing mean that the decision of the board can be challenged indefinitely because it is void from conception, void ab initio. And the question is, what kind of publication errors have to be, precise? We had a property which got deferred because they incorrectly listed it as West something Road, when in fact it is a road that's south, and that is material enough, so it raises my hackles. It is a doctrine that the subsequent Pennsylvania decisions have pared back, but they've not removed. And bottom line is, if you're willing to take the risk, which I see as residual, that somebody would challenge this as, void from conception on this technicality, and I personally, I can't guarantee it, but I personally don't think this technicality is enough to bring into play those cases, then I would, as long as you're content to assume that risk, I would advise the board that we may proceed.
The alternative being that you'd have to re-advertise and come back, giving the public notice of what you really need, so that people could say, oh, I want to object to that, or I want to support it, or I don't care. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we ran through that whole process for the mistaken.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan, I have a question on this issue. If the notice doesn't quote a section other than the general accessory section, which is open to all 4 subsections, and it correctly indicates that the generator is 12.5 feet from the property line, which is what it's proposed on the plans.
No, I agree that it is a request from a relief from the entire section, not just specifically A, B, C, or D. So I would agree that our efforts to find out which pigeonhole this belongs in, it's still, he'd ask for all 4 relief under all 4 pigeonholes.
I just want to be, in terms of my view here, and I'm going to take a strict reading of this. I think an air conditioning unit is an air conditioning unit. That's all it is. So I don't think we can do anything else. And we just said I think the zoning ordinance has to be ruled viewed in favor of the landowner. So I'm with Noah that this is an accessory structure, not an air conditioning unit. And I mean, that's at least my feeling way that we should look at it. I'd like to hear some other people's thoughts
So
on
the question is, do you want us to proceed based upon the advertisement you have and take this risk that Mr. Ryan posed to you of someone challenging it in the future? Or would you like to correct the problem and come back? It's up to you.
Well, I don't understand what correct the problem means in this case.
Well, what it means is the reason this has to be advertised is so that the public can know what someone owning a given property is about to do. Maybe they object to it. Maybe they just want more information. Maybe they want to support it. Maybe they don't care. So that's why we have to publish in advance to tell the neighborhood. And they also get notices that get sent to your neighbors within, 500 feet or so, saying this is what this person on this property wishes to do that is not otherwise allowed by the code. Maybe 5 people would be here to support you or to object to you if they had the right information. The point is they didn't get exactly the right information, so you're at risk, and that's what Mr. Ryan is warning you.
Mr. Cutler, from staff's perspective, I would disagree in that the notice is exactly what it says. It's open to all 4 sections. If this board is saying subsection D is not applicable for one reason or another, then the motion would indicate that it's subsection A, B, or C. The notice did not specifically say a subsection. It said 280.22 accessory structures. If you're determining it's not an air conditioner and it's still an accessory structure, there's no defect in the notification.
Unless a fair reading of the publication and the sections leads one to the conclusion that there's no relief that could be sought or granted. Because I've looked at these sections while the colloquy has been taking place, and I'm not certain under any of these sections whether exactly the relief that the applicant needs can necessarily be granted, unless we take the leap of faith that a standby generator is an air conditioner.
I mean, we know that in fairness, we know that he seeks relief from a generator, okay, and he seeks relief for the accessory structure. So you know that, notwithstanding the air conditioner, it's policy, it's a generator. The purpose of Luke v. Cataldi was to get enough notice to the public. For example, if he came in and wanted a special exception and it turns out he needs a variance, special exceptions are easy approvals to get. Variances are difficult approvals to get. And in that case, I would advise the board that we have to re-advertise, because the neighbors might have thought, well, if it's a special exception, there's nothing I can do about it. But on the other hand, if it's a variance, my voice would matter more if I were opposed to it, or, you know, in favor of it, I suppose.
What bears on the issue is if you saw the ad and you inquired and you pulled the application, all that's dealt with in the application is air conditioning units shall in all cases be at least 15 feet from any property line. Next line, request is to allow installation of a standby generator 12.5 feet from the property line. And so the application would lead you to believe that this is an entirely different request than it really is. But if our solicitor says it's good enough and you're willing to take that risk, I'm willing to proceed with the case.
I think we're getting into pedophilery here.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, as long as you understand that we, you know, have this problem in the law, and there are lots of other problems that we have, and we can't give you a guarantee, but one of the, you know, things is that somebody has to do, there's nobody here opposing it, I take it. Or you are opposing it? Oh, okay, all right, and then you have a, then that's different, then you might want to re-advertise then, because you have an opponent.
So, well, how does she get heard?
The chair will recognize her, and we
Okay.
find out how far, you know, away from the property she is, and, but yes, it would, you know, she does have the,
If you've presented all the case you need to present, if you want to step back for a second and let her speak,
absolutely, yeah.
so we can all figure out what her issue might be,
Okay,
maybe we can
sounds
deal with
good.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Good evening.
Make sure you swear yourself in.
Yes, I'm Maureen McAleer. I'm at 240 Hardwick Lane.
And spell your name?
McAleer. I'm a little confused now because I thought, okay, first of all, is this a structure or is this an accessory? How are we treating this? And is there a difference, 5 feet, 10 feet?
It's an accessory structure.
Accessory
It's a structure
structure,
which
okay.
is accessory to the principal use of the principal building.
Okay.
For quick question and clarification, 240 Hardwick, is that next to the property?
Yes.
And is it on the side where the unit is located?
Right. Our house is, there. Yeah, there's no driveway, it's just a yard. Well, I guess, first of all, I want to understand how you can have a generator installed without a permit and have it operating. How does that happen? You just...
Somebody did what they weren't supposed to do. That's not our issue. In other words,
Okay, it's not, and then the contractor can just go in and do that.
I mean,
We
I'm
don't
not
know
allowed
if
to
it-
steal your car, but I go out in the parking lot and do it. Somebody has
Okay,
to.
okay, all right. So that's not really my concern, that it's already been installed, it's not my problem. My issue is noise, and structure, you know, to see the structure. So I want it as far away as from the property line as it should be, and that's basically it.
The law allows it to be 2.5 feet closer, actually.
It does?
Yes, it can be as close as 10 feet.
Okay.
Now, if it's excessive noise, I mean, you may have an issue under the noise ordinance. That's not an issue for the zoning board.
Okay.
If this thing makes tremendous noise and keeps you up all night, there are noise ordinances. But
Okay,
that has
well,
nothing to do with the
What are we
zoning
here
restriction.
for now? Because I thought this was a variance on the fact that it's not 15 feet or from the property.
Well, that's the confusion, but what it really is a variance that it's too close to his house, not that it's too close to your common property line.
Okay.
He's allowed to go within 10 feet of
Was
your
that cl-
line, and he's at 12 and a half. If there's a noise issue, that's a separate issue, but...
Okay.
To me, this accessory structure, to be ideal, would have to be at least 10 feet from your property line and 10 feet from his house. In order for it to be, he could just install it, a permit would be issued by right.
Okay.
Because his property,
So he installed it 5 feet from his property?
right, which means that it's too close to his house, and he would need a variance to install it closer to his house.
Okay.
So it's an issue technically.
And he doesn't have
so
enough
how
width.
does that affect-
He doesn't have enough width to make this
to
happen.
do it
That's
on
the
both
problem.
sides. He can't make it 10 feet from his house and no closer than 10 feet to the property line because he doesn't have the
Because the
room.
unit's 2 feet long. So I mean, that's his, if he had 22 feet,
Okay.
it would squeeze in there, but he doesn't.
Okay.
So
And that's the only place that he can put it on the property?
we did not hear testimony on that. It's a line of questioning.
One
Okay.
possibility, though, Mr. Chairman, is if the property, if the air conditioning unit were moved closer to the property line, to the 10 feet, it would then be 7 7.7 feet away from the house, and that might be a distance that would qualify as de minimis, which the board could grant. So if we remove it and they moved it closer to the house, I would argue that that's within the realm of something that's de minimis.
You'd move it closer to the house?
No, closer to the property line, closer to the property.
Well, I'm sure you don't want it closer to your property line.
No, I do not.
So that would be a pyrrhic victory, making you move it closer to your property line.
Can I ask a question, and this is going to refer to a photograph that we have, and number 3.
Okay.
But you don't.
I don't have a
this.
photograph.
Okay. So the unit is sort of tucked behind a bush, and you can see the base of it, and there's a walkway to the left of the unit.
That's correct.
There is some shrubbery and trees there to the left of the walkway. Your home, I mean, just describe to the board from your perspective how your home is situated off to the left.
It's up a little bit. I don't know how many feet. It's up a little bit of a hill. My dining room's there, and there's bedrooms up on top. So it's the
Okay.
side of the house where the dining room is, and the
So-
backyard is right back there.
Okay,
The back patio.
So part of the aesthetic issue from your perspective is that because, I'm assuming because of the topography, the shrubs and trees we're looking at otherwise are not an effective block because you're up a bit?
That's correct.
Okay. And as far as the potential regarding noise, have you had reason to hear the unit operate?
Mr. Novak put it on Saturday. Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to describe what impact that was on your property or at your property?
It's loud. It's just like having a tractor, a lawnmower in your yard, and I can imagine what it would be if it was on for 20 hours. So it's noisy. It's not quiet.
Thank you.
Of course, if it was on for 20 hours, there were probably other disruptions that you're already
Well,
dealing with, given
probably.
the fact that the neighborhood's out of power for 20 hours.
Probably, but I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there. I mean, it's loud. I mean, I have family members. I have people. I'm not alone in the house, and there's other people there, and they do sleep, and they live there as well. So.
Understood, and I wasn't trying to make light of that. Also, my understanding is that these types of generators run periodically, sort of as maintenance or just to know that it's ready to go when you need it.
Mr. Novak, you need to be
Every
on the mic.
Monday at 9 a.m., and I'm at work. I'm never at home when they run.
Kevin, are you familiar with how noisy these things are, if they're fairly common in the area? I mean, is that
We have seen, and I don't have a number for you, so I don't want to throw out something that's inaccurate, but we do a lot of generator permits. They do run on a weekly basis for about 20 minutes. We always advise the homeowners to cycle them during midday during the week so that it's not interfering with people's weekends or
Because of noise?
during off hours.
Kevin, where do you usually see them located?
Generally on the side of the house. Again, what has historically been done and interpreted by the prior zoning officer and myself is that we treat these as air conditioning units and follow the same setback requirements because they're very similar, slightly noisier than air conditioning units, but they have come a long way in technology to dampen the noise. As far as noise ordinances, I believe there's an exception in the code for these types of things because they're running during a time of emergency. So, but more and more people are putting these in as a alternate source of power when the power goes out.
So you're seeing them typically located where the applicant has his located?
Typically,
Like
yes,
side of the house?
because there's limitations when you have to run, and I have personal experience. In my former house, I installed one of these. There's certain lengths of wire that come pre-wired for these, and on the one picture, you'll see the control box, the transfer switch on the outside. They're very limited. They have to be located within a certain location and certain distance from, obviously, gas supply line because of pressure that these would run off of from a natural gas standpoint, as well as to the main breaker panel, because the transfer switch on the outside is then hardwired into the breaker panel. So they come manufactured with, I want to say, less than 20 feet of wire to go from the transfer switch to the sub panel or the panel in the basement. At least mine did, and it was a generic, but that's probably about 10 years ago at this point. So,
Thank you.
No. Do you need anything from me? No? That's it? Okay, thank you.
Sure. You put in your application, thank you. You put in your application your rationale for not putting it in the front and the back. Just help me understand why going to the rear was not going to work, where you mentioned that there were several trees that you'd have to take out. You can just show me on that, on
Yeah,
the,
that, if you
or maybe
go
send a picture.
to the picture that's labeled.
Okay.
That's part of the patio at the very back of my house.
Yeah.
That's the corner where the generator would have to be located. And there'd have to be I would guess about a 30-foot run of gas line and electrical to get back there. And then a whole bunch of those bushes and trees would have to come out to avoid a fire hazard. So it's doable, but it's
expensive.
not really
Yep.
practical.
Yeah.
You'd have to be at least 10 feet from both lines, the rear line and the side line.
I could do that. I'd have to put it on the patio somehow to get it properly situated 10 feet from both sides. And I'm not sure about running the gas line that far, because the gas line's up at the front of the house, and that's in the back.
On the plan prepared by Johnson Surveying, dated September 29, 15, it shows the location of the generator. Can you give the board a description of where that gas line comes in from? Is that a direct run, straight run from the street, or do you have gas otherwise in the house? Or is the gas just for this?
sir, if you could use that microphone, please.
The gas line, it runs from the front of the house through my basement to where my water heater and line for the gas furnace is. What they did was they tapped that and extended it out. So the gas line comes out pretty much directly in line with the generator from the house.
Sorry. Would it be possible for that line, instead of coming out of the house there, to be run? I don't know if you've got a basement that goes all the way to the back property, back wall where the patio begins, but
No, unfortunately, it doesn't. The patio is flagstone, and it's concrete between the flagstones. So whatever we do would have to be done outside of that.
And if you've got picture number 4 again handy, it looks like the gas line is coming up out of the ground, so that the line presumably is running below ground,
Yeah,
through the sidewall out
Yep.
to where
They-
it goes above grade.
Yeah, they had the gas company change the regulator, or whatever the thing is called there, to allow for the extra gas use.
Just in terms of your relationship with your contractor, obviously, our goal here to get, is to grant the minimum relief required. So if we came back to you and said, we need you to move it to 7.5 feet, who's paying for that?
They are.
They are.
He was very good about it. He said, look, we screwed up. They've never turned down one of our permits before. We just assumed they were going to approve it, and he went ahead and did it because he had a day open, and then we both got a nasty surprise. So he's already told me, look, whatever you have to do to make this work.
Yeah, because clearly, going to 7 feet 9 inches, 7 feet 8 inches is closer to get to 10 feet, though you're not going to like that. But it's more in line with, 10 feet from the side and the furthest from the building. But
Just seems like an awful lot of trouble and
I
expense
know,
for
I
de
know.
minimis
They might
difference.
land it right in the middle of the walk.
I was actually thinking that would be the issue.
Matter of fact, let me force it to a head. I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make the motion that we grant the applicant a relief under 28022C, as in code, permitting the generator as an accessory structure to be closer than 10 feet from the side, I'm sorry, it's B, I want, B as in boy, permitting the accessory structure to be less than 10 feet from the principal residence, from the principal building, but no closer than as shown on the plan. Do we label this as an exhibit?
Actually, we have to, could we label the application A1? That deed looks so good as like an original would be A2. The plan would be A3. And the various photographs would be A4, Pren 1, A4, Pren 2, and so forth.
Quick clarifying question. In the code where, in B, the phrase "on the buildable area of a lot," what is the significance of the phrase "buildable area" there?
That which is inside the envelope, excluding the required side yard, front yard, and rear yard. That's the building envelope.
Well, then the problem is, it's in the side yard setback. It's not on the buildable area. So I don't think relief is available under B.
On the buildable area of a lot, but not attached to the principal building.
That can't be right, because everyone has sheds that are 3 feet from the property line. So that's not.
Well, no,
Not everybody.
that's C, in the rear yard, in the rear yard and side yard of a lot, in which case it does not be closer than 10 feet to the sideline. What was the required yard here? What is the required yard width for that side yard for R2? Let's see what it is.
Side yard, not less than 45 in the aggregate.
And 20 feet, and his is actually how wide?
20 feet.
20 feet.
Yeah.
Maybe we can ask the zoning officer.
Well, I've already had opinions as to how these types of structures, if you want to consider it a structure, are regulated, but the buildable area of the lot is one of those defined terms in here that's really undefined, rather. We would look at not in the front yard, not on steep slopes, that we don't consider steep slopes a buildable area of a lot. So as in every other accessory structure permit that we've issued in the thousands probably at this point, the side yard, within the side yard, but 10 feet from the side lot line would be permissible.
Yeah, Bill, you're right. I think he doesn't need relief. The bottom line is, he doesn't need relief. He can build it as a matter of right. It's in the side yard, it's outside the envelope,
It's
and
not
it's more
10
than 10 feet from the sideline. It's more than 10 feet from the sideline. See that 10-foot, I was wrong before, that it said separate, that only applies if it's in the building envelope. It has to be at least 10 feet away. You see? I was wrong. He doesn't need relief.
No, I mean, I disagree with you. That is a limit to the otherwise expressed permission to have an accessory structure.
Well, I mean, A doesn't apply because it's not attached to principal building. B doesn't apply because it's not in the buildable area. C applies because it is in the side yard, in which case it has to be 10 feet from the line, and it is. D doesn't apply because it's not an air conditioning unit. So
Well, are
how
there
is it
other-
prohibited from doing this?
I'm sorry, are there other requirements under C with respect to minimum distance from the principal building?
I don't see them.
I don't see it either.
No, again, we always look at the buildable area of the lot as everything on the lot except for those areas that are otherwise restricted. Areas of steep slopes, the front yard, that sort of thing. Regardless of how we've always treated these, is that because there's really not a clear definition in the ordinance, we looked at how it's most similar to, and we applied and have always applied the air conditioning setback to these types of structures. They're very similar in size, slightly louder, slightly larger, but very similar to air conditioning units. That's been a determination that has been going on in the township for years.
No, I mean, I think we got to take a step back here. He needs relief. If the argument is it's an accessory structure, it has to be located as designated hereunder. And we're saying it's being located, we're looking at B.
I was wrong. We're looking at C. Because it's outside the building envelope. It's in the side yard.
I don't think buildable area, lowercase b and lowercase a, is defined. And
Yeah, but if we're looking at C, it is located closer than 10 feet.
Not from the property.
As of the property.
The problem is that building area is not defined. That's the problem. The issue is that building area is not defined. So, I mean, that's a buildable area is not defined. Building area is, but buildable area is not. That's our problem. So, we've heard the zoning officer's interpretation of what that means, and I think he's also shown by history how they've done it. I would prefer not to give it by right, because just in case. Meaning, if C is not the right answer, it's actually B. I don't want him coming in front of us saying he's got a problem under B.
Well, if buildable area is not defined, John, don't we have to interpret it, giving the benefit of the doubt to the property owner, against restriction, not in favor of restriction?
yes, you do.
And where is the area on which they can build, if not the area formed by what's left after you take out the required yards?
Except the only...
It's plain meaning. I mean, in other words, it's not defined, but it's a plain
The only
meaning.
thing, though, one of the tenets of statutory construction is that you don't come up with an absurd construction, and that you avoid constructions that tend to make the ordinance absurd or to not have meaning. And I think in this case, that interpretation, although I see where it comes from, could be argued as having a rather aberrant result. But at the same token, it's the ordinance is what it says, and building area is not defined. Buildable area, lowercase b, lowercase a.
So it can't be on buildable area since it's undefined, you're saying? So it has to be in C. It's in the side yard, there's no doubt about that. Does anybody doubt that this is in the side yard? So C applies for side and rear yard. So that's where it is.
Are you revising your motion?
I am.
Great.
I'm going back to 28022C and saying, but saying that he doesn't need relief. As far as I'm concerned, he's built this as a matter of right, as an accessory structure. And I think we should hold that and say, therefore, he doesn't need relief, that it's a lawful installation.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion on the motion? No? With that, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
No.
No abstentions, so carried. Congratulations. With that,
Now I know whose house to go to when my electricity goes
We
out
all
in the
know.
storm.
the session is concluded. We'll see you in approximately a month.